Hello and...
Oh, I'll 2 seconds. Let's load the thing. I'll give you a thumbs up when it's ready.
Okay. Hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to Newcastle University's virtual event. We're here today to answer your questions that you may have prior to coming to Newcastle University in September. We'll be giving a presentation for the next 20-25 minutes or so, and then we'll leave lots of time for you to type in your questions. Anything you want to know, that could be about your offer letters for Newcastle, about visas, about accommodation, any aspect of living and studying in Newcastle, basically. So I'd like to introduce two of my colleagues. On my left, we have Alex Morgan.
Hello.
Alex is the International Integration Officer at the university, and she'll be giving you some tips about how you can best prepare for your arrival in Newcastle, as well as tips about what to do on your arrival. And on my right, we have Monica Nielsen.
Hi there.
Monica is a former student of ours. She did her master's with us a couple of years ago in international marketing, and she loved it so much that she stayed, and she's been working with us for a while. But she's here today as the kind of student voice of the panel, so you might have some questions for her after the presentation. And then I have some more colleagues joining us in a while who will be able to answer other types of questions, and I'll introduce them later. Okay, so we'll now move to the presentation. This is aimed at everyone who is holding an offer for the university, whether you're from a country overseas, outside of the European Union, or indeed if you're coming from within the European Union. We hope that you'll find this information useful. So, just really to start with, a quick look at where Newcastle is, in case you don't know. We're located in the northeast of England. We're about 2.5 hours, 2 hours 40 minutes by train from London, and 1.5 hours by train from Edinburgh. So we have a really good location next to the coast, the North Sea. I wouldn't advise going swimming in the North Sea, it's quite cold. Even at this time of year, the summer, the water's quite fresh, but it's a really beautiful part of the world, lots of green spaces, lots of beautiful countryside, castles, loads of places to visit. We have an international airport at Newcastle, and that's 20 minutes away from our campus by the metro, which is our overground and underground railway, or it's 15-20 minutes in a taxi. And from that airport, you can connect to various flights taking you all over the world. We obviously transit to the different airports in London, but also Dubai. We have the United Arab Emirates flight going to Dubai, and Amsterdam and Paris as well, and then many other European cities. So an easy place to get to. These are just a few shots of the campus. Newcastle University was founded back in 1834. We began life as a medical school, and you can see the first shot there, that's the arches and the Armstrong building, which is the oldest part of the university. But we also have lots of new buildings as well. We're continuously investing millions and millions of pounds in our campus. The picture at the bottom of the photo is our business school, which was purpose-built for all our business students about 4 years ago now. This is the heart of the campus. This is the old quadrangle, and this particular building is the architecture building. So if we have any architecture students listening today, you'll spend part of your time actually within that building. Really lovely, beautiful old buildings. This is an aerial view of the city of Newcastle. We're not a huge city, not if you compare us to somewhere like London. We have a population of about 300,000 people. But the city is very compact. One of the best things about Newcastle University is its location, and you can see there on the slide the main campus. It's actually located within the heart of the city, so that's really practical for you. You can just go out of lectures or classes and you can be in the town centre within a couple of minutes, in amongst all the shops, the bars, the restaurants, cafes, cinema, lots of possibilities of things to do in your spare time. You'll also see there the business school. Everything at Newcastle is located on the one campus, the main campus, with the exception of the business school at the moment, which is about a 10-minute walk away from the main campus, but also very close to the city centre, and you can see there Chinatown. It's also opposite St James's Park football ground, which is the home of Newcastle United football team. For any of you listening who are keen football players, or you follow Newcastle United perhaps, it's literally straight opposite our business school. The river running through Newcastle is called the River Tyne, and maybe you can see that in the centre of the picture. That's the river. So we're actually Newcastle upon Tyne. That's the full name of the city. And then there's just a few more photos. Our Theatre Royal, Gray's Monument, a market called the Granger Market where students go and buy their fruit and veg. It's very cheap, really lovely old indoor market. And the final photo there is the Tyne Bridge. That's one of 7 bridges which span the River Tyne. So just a few words about the university now before we get on to the practical things about what you need to think about as students hopefully joining us in September. Just really to remind you what a great university you would be joining. We've recently won a gold award in something called the Teaching and Excellence Framework, the TEF. So we're very proud to have achieved that. It recognises the high quality teaching that our academic staff deliver to our students. Newcastle University is a popular university with employers, both local, national and multinational employers. They regularly come onto campus and they're looking for our graduates to offer jobs to. We have 2 big jobs fairs every year, and it's never too early really to start thinking about your career and planning what you're going to do once you've graduated. Yeah, we're recommended by lots of students. 94% of international students say they would recommend us, which is great. We're currently joint first in the UK for the support that we give our students, and more about that in a little while. We're a very happy city, as you can see by my colleagues and me sitting here. Happy people living in Newcastle and working. We love the city, and we have actually been voted the happiest city in the UK. So there you go. Join us and you will become happy too. And we are the 3rd cheapest city in the UK, the student city. So the cost of living typically in cities all over the northeast of England, it is significantly cheaper to live in the north than if you were to go down and study in the south of England. Things like accommodation costs, travel costs, just costs about going out. If you want to eat out or go out drinking in the bars and the cafes, everything's much cheaper. So now student life. As well as working hard at the university, studying hard and getting good results, we want you to enjoy yourselves as well. It can't always be just about studying. So we have lots of extracurricular activities that you can get involved in. A big thing you need to know about is our student union. That's a big building on campus that's run by students for students. There's loads of different aspects to the student union, but one of the main things that they do is they run clubs for students, which are called societies. And we have many student societies. So depending on what you're interested in joining, and you might want to learn how to cook, you might want to get involved in the comedy society. There's a society just for international students. There are societies related to the religion. So there's a Catholic society, an Islamic society, and many others. And there are also country societies. So we have a Hellenic society for Greek and Cypriot students. We have an Indonesian society, you name it. We're sure to have something that you would be interested in. If you're interested in media, we have our own student newspaper called The Courier, which has actually won lots of awards because of the brilliant journalism that it displays. And many of our media students get involved in writing articles for The Courier. And again, that's something that when you're looking for a job, if you can say that you've worked in the media at university, that will make you more attractive to a future employer. We also have a TV station and a radio station that we run through YouTube. Volunteering at Newcastle is something very popular with our international students. That's where you give up a few hours of your time every week to work, and you might work on some sort of project with old people, with disabled people, with children. You might do something in the community, maybe doing some gardening. There's all kinds of different volunteering opportunities. And again, if you haven't got work experience on your CV, doing volunteering work is a good way to get that work experience. And although you're not being paid for it, it's a useful thing to do for when you come to apply for jobs, if you can say you've done some volunteering. This slide just shows you a few more of the different clubs and societies that are available. So there really is something for everybody. Cheerleading there, NUTS, that's the Newcastle University Theatre Society, and lots of other interesting ones. Bollywood, I think if I was a student, I would join Bollywood, learn how to do Bollywood dancing and watch lots of Bollywood movies. So honestly, great opportunities for you to get involved in. Back into the university now. This is just a slide telling you about the different support that's available to you. And as you can see, there's something for just about every aspect that a student might need help with. So whether it's visas, whether it's problems with your finance, whether you might just need some advice. We have a student advice centre in the Students' Union where you can go in and get advice. For example, if you were signing a contract for some accommodation, we have a specialist in there who can advise you on the do's and don'ts of getting private accommodation. Lots and lots of different support available at the university, if you know where to look for it. We have a building called Kingsgate, and that's where most of these support services are based. So you can go in there and make an appointment to see somebody according to what your need is. That's just another picture of the main campus, and that big building there that you can see is our Students' Union building. So now on to the more practical side of things. Questions, hopefully you might have questions now about these things, so hopefully some of these slides coming up will answer them. But obviously as the slides come up and you feel that we aren't answering the question, please feel free to type into YouTube, if you have an account, type in your question and we will try and get to your question at the end of the presentation. So for undergraduates, once you've received all your decisions from the 5 different universities that you've probably applied to, you need to log into UCAS Track and make a decision on which is your firm choice and which is your insurance choice. So as I'm sure you all know, your firm is the one you really want to go to. Insurance choice is a backup if you perhaps don't get the grades that you need. For postgraduates, not many of our programs do have a deadline for accepting your offer, but if there is, it will say so in your offer letter. So please read your offer letter very carefully. Some of you will still have conditional offers at this stage because you're waiting for your exam results. Please don't worry if that's you. Most of our students still have conditions at this stage, so it's perfectly normal that in July and August, sometimes even into early September, people are still waiting to see if they've got their exam results. We know this, so don't panic. That's absolutely fine. If when you get your exam results you miss your conditions, please still do contact the university and we might be able to consider you if you are narrowly missing your conditions. It depends on the programme, it depends on the academic who makes the decision on that programme as to whether we'll take you, but it is worth getting in touch with us. For undergraduate students, make sure that as soon as you meet any of your conditions, you send us the evidence. So you're emailing us copies of your scanned certificates, whether that's an IELTS certificate or whether it's an academic certificate, to the email address that's in your offer conditions. Postgraduates, as soon as you meet your conditions, notify us by uploading your documents to your application portal. And please remember, postgrads, that you need to pay a minimum of £1,500 deposit, and that's for students who need a Tier 4 visa. Okay, then moving on to accommodation, there's lots of different options that you have available. You can either choose one of our university halls of residence, or we have managed partnership accommodation, which is where you're slightly more independent and the university still helps you find that accommodation, but you're signing a contract with a different provider. It's not a university-owned accommodation. Or you might want to get your own accommodation by going online and looking up, or you might have family or friends. With private accommodation, our suggestion would be that you don't sign any contract until you actually get to Newcastle, because you need to be sure that you like it, because once you've signed the contract, you need to stay in that accommodation for however long you've signed it for. So what we normally tell students is, if you're getting private accommodation, please come to Newcastle, book into a hotel or a hostel for a few nights until you have a chance to look around and see the accommodation for yourself and decide if it's the right location and the right type of accommodation for you. And then you see there in the middle of the slide a new student accommodation guarantee, and it lists there, I won't go through all of that. If you're an undergraduate, you can have a read what you need to do, and then the same for postgrads. Although the deadline for applying for accommodation was the 30th of June, we still have places left in our accommodation this year. So even if you've missed the deadline and you want university accommodation, then please go online and apply for it now, and we should still be able to consider you. Okay. You can still apply for accommodation while your offer is still conditional. People sometimes think you have to wait until you've gone unconditional, but no, you can still apply while you're conditional, but it's only when you go unconditional that we will allocate the room to you. Rooms are being allocated now between July and September, but a really important point to know, please, everybody is calling us and emailing us saying, oh, we haven't got our room yet, we're really worried. Well, the accommodation service has only recently started allocating, so just please be patient. The more emails and telephone calls they get asking about accommodation, the longer it's going to take them to actually allocate, because they're quite a small team. So please just sit tight, be patient, and you will hear from us on email about your university accommodation offer if you've applied to us. Okay, and then things to consider there, what type of accommodation do you want, large or small? Look at the budget, because prices do vary greatly. The location, most of our accommodation is close to the campus, but we do have 2 or 3 halls of residence that are a bus ride away or a metro ride away. So make sure, if you're still applying, that you choose, the ones where you want to be. And of course, facilities, do you want en suite? That means with a bathroom included. Or are you happy just with a wash basin in your bedroom? Do you want catered, which means we provide the food for you, or are you happy to cook for yourself? Please note that all accommodation sites in Newcastle, with the exception of one, are self-catered. So you have to cook your own food in most of our accommodation sites. There's only one, it's called Castle Leeses, where you can buy a package to have your breakfast and your evening meal Monday to Friday. So for anybody out there who's listening who can't cook, I advise that before you leave your country, you get your mum or dad or whoever you live with to teach you how to cook a few meals, because that's what most students have to do. But shopping in Newcastle, it's really good. You can get lots of ingredients, no matter which country you come from. We have a few supermarkets catering for the different sort of countries that people come from. So you'll find everything you need to cook yourself a tasty meal. And then the text there, if you go into the internet and just type in living expenses, you'll get a really useful sheet that comes up telling you exactly how much things cost typically in Newcastle, so that you can start thinking about how much money you need to spend every week or every month. Because budgeting as a student, very important. And those are just some photographs of 3 of our accommodation sites. As you can see, a couple of, well, one very modern one quite old, and one kind of in the middle. But if you go online, you can do a 360-degree tour of our accommodation, and that's just a screenshot showing the Grand Hotel. That's one of our accommodation sites, which is right beside the front door of the university. And you can click on that online and have a look in the bedrooms and the living spaces, just to get an idea of what it's like. So accommodation, it's a very important part of your stay at university. So make sure you get it sorted and you know what you're doing before you come in September. This is just a map. If you again go onto our website and type in the word campus map, you can pull up a range of different maps that show you the campus and the proximity, the nearness to other things within Newcastle. But as I said earlier, Newcastle, great location wise, the university, the city centre is 2 minutes walk away, and you can walk around the city as a whole in about 15 to 20 minutes. It's not a big city. Everything you need is sort of located more or less in the one area. So that's really good. Right, just a few things about visas now, and then if you do have questions about visas, we have someone from our visa team here today who will be able to advise you if you have further questions. But basically, that's the university's web page for visas. Most international students, not all, but most need a visa to study. If you're a European Union citizen, you don't need a visa. You can apply for your visa after you get your CAS from us. That's your confirmation of acceptance of studies, your CAS. And this is a number which the university will email to you once you are completely unconditional. So you have no more conditions left on your offer. We'll email you the CAS, and it's that number that you use to apply for your visa. International students on business school programs, known as the dual award, where you're studying partly in Newcastle and partly in Groningen in the Netherlands, you need to apply for a visa for the country where you are going to be studying first. So we have 2 or 3 programs where the course starts in Newcastle, so you need a visa for the UK. But if you're applying first to the course that starts in the Netherlands, then you need a visa for the Netherlands. And then once you're on the programme in the first semester, you can arrange the visa with our help to get the second one. Okay. And then just a guide about your visa. Here are the different steps. So as an undergraduate student, you accept your offer as your firm choice on UCAS track, make it unconditional by submitting all the documents, receive your CAS from us, that number that I just mentioned, on an email. With postgrads, accept your offer, make it unconditional, pay your tuition fee deposit for postgrads, very important for international postgrad students, and receive your CAS in an email as well. Then apply for your Tier 4 visa if you need one. Remember, not European Union students. And then you need to confirm where you want to collect your biometric residence permit, your BRP. There are 3 locations in Newcastle where you can collect that, and you're asked at the time of applying where you want to collect it from. You pay your visa application fee, you book your appointment at the visa centre, and then you go, you have your appointment, and then you await the decision. You hopefully get your visa, and you'll be given a sticker in your passport and a decision letter, and this will grant you a 30-day leave to enter the UK. So it's like a mini short visa for 30 days. You get ready to fly, you arrive in Newcastle, and as soon as you arrive, within the first day or two, you should go to the relevant post office to collect your biometric residence permit within 10 days of your arrival. And when you collect it, make sure you take that decision letter from the visa service and passport with you to collect it. And then once you've done that, you can come onto our campus and complete your registration. And your registration is the process that all new students go through to become a university student. That means paying your fees, it means having your photograph taken, showing us all your documents, and then you get something like what I'm holding up now. If you can see my photo there, that's a student card, student ID card, or smart card we call it, and that's what all students need to have. Okay, I'm now going to pass over to Alex, who's going to talk to you a little bit about how you can best prepare for coming to Newcastle, and then tell you a bit about what you need to do on arrival.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. Yes, so I'm going to cover some of the more practical things that you'll need to do just before your trip to the UK. So in terms of preparation, we would recommend that the documents that you can see on the list on the screen, to keep the copy of those in your hand luggage. Obviously, it's really important to have your passport or you're not going to be able to travel, but make sure you have your visa and the visa decision letters easy to hand. It will just make things go so much smoother in the airport. You need to bring evidence of having funds to study, and also evidence of your accommodation and the course that you'll be doing. So that would be your accommodation contract and your CAS letter. Copy of tuberculosis testing if needed, and any medical reports that you also need to bring. If you're bringing any prescription medication with you, obviously you need to bring documentation as to what that is, just in case you're asked as you bring that through the airport. And obviously packing that in your hand luggage is really important, just so that it's not separated from you at any time. Okay, you may have heard about our National Health Service, and any students who are studying in the UK for more than 6 months are entitled to that NHS Health Service. You will need to pay, well, for some students, there is a fee, which is the Immigration Health Surcharge. This is charged for the full year that you're in the UK, and for any Tier 4 visa students, this is compulsory. EU students do not have to do this. It's £150 per year if you're here for 12 months, or it's £75 if you're here for any time less than that. What you will do is this will be paid fully in advance while you're doing your visa application, so you don't need to worry about trying to do that separately. What you will need to do separately, though, is to register with a doctor once you arrive in Newcastle. You can't do that until you're actually in the country. So you'll need to register with what we call a GP, and I would advise that you do that as soon as you arrive. That means you've got access to appointments with the doctor, and that would be how you would get any appointments at hospital if you needed. I wouldn't wait until you're ill. Some students do that, but it's not advisable. I would register with the doctor as soon as you arrive, and then you're free to use their services as and when you need them. Okay, a big topic for students, and one that students are really concerned about, just about bringing enough money and making sure you have the right amount of money to meet your living expenses for the time you'll be here. What I would advise is to bring enough British currency with you to cover any needs that you might have when you arrive in Newcastle. We would say that it's probably a good idea to have roughly £300 to £400 with you. This is obviously not compulsory, but it is really handy to have cash and money for arriving in the UK, just in case you had any problems. For any emergency situations. Hopefully you wouldn't experience any of those, but it's good to be on the safe side. As Wendy mentioned before, just about costs of living in the UK, that booklet that she mentioned is really helpful. That gives you a big breakdown of what different things would cost, like accommodation and like food, books and so on. But this is what we would estimate an undergraduate student would spend. So that would be between £9,000 and £10,000. That would cover your living costs, but it wouldn't cover your travel to Newcastle. For postgrads, it's slightly higher, as you can see there, and that is because postgrads are with us for 12 months rather than 9. In terms of things that you would want with you for arrival, make sure that you've got warm clothing. I'll be at the airport and will be meeting students as they arrive and helping you get onto our meet and greet service. But I quite often see students arrive in just a t-shirt. It is summertime in the UK, but that doesn't mean anything at all. It could be raining, it could be sunny, it could be very windy. Make sure you're prepared and at least bring a warm jacket and maybe a jumper for the first few days. Obviously, if you're from a hot climate, it may be cheaper to buy clothes for cold weather in Newcastle, but definitely try and bring something to keep you warm for those first few days while you're adjusting. But as it says there, shopping's fantastic in Newcastle, and Northumberland Street, our main shopping street, is opposite the university, which is almost a little bit too handy in terms of spending money. A checklist to have a look at before you arrive. So these are the most important things for you to do before you set off for Newcastle. Obviously, booking your accommodation, making sure that you have your visa and all of the correct documents. Wendy mentioned registration. You can begin the registration process online, and we would recommend that you do that as soon as you get the emails from our student progress team. They will give you detailed information on how to do that. Obviously, making sure you've booked your flight, you have your tickets, you have any insurance that you might need, and that you've checked what luggage allowance your airline lets you have, and that your bag will meet those limits, and arranged any airport pickup or transfer once you arrive in Newcastle. As I mentioned, we have a meet and greet service that is free to book onto, and if you go onto our pre-arrival section of the airport of the website, you can book onto that now. That means you'll be met for free at the airport and transported from the airport to accommodation, so that's university accommodation or the main campus. And we also give you a nice welcome bag. Make sure you've got information about how to get to your accommodation in case you arrive outside of our pickup hours, and that you've got contact details that you need for any emergencies. And make sure you've picked up any documents, any medication or currency that you may need. Once you've arrived, you'd be surprised to know how many students don't contact their family to tell them they've arrived safely. They get too excited arriving in the UK. Make sure you've let your family know that you've arrived. They'll be really worried about you, so make sure you do that. As Wendy mentioned, you need to pick up your BRP permit. And then finally, you will complete your registration on campus, and that allows you to get your smart card, which will give you access to buildings in the university and will help you use the library, etc. Then it's time to open a UK bank account and to arrange for payment of your tuition fees. We also offer an international welcome. That involves information sessions specifically for internationals that give you extra information about the university, the services we offer, and also a little bit of information about Newcastle as a city and things you might want to use while you're here. You'll also need to do the university English language assessment. That is nothing to worry about. It's just something that we offer to allow students to assess students' language capabilities and ensure that you've got the support that you need while you're here. Some students will need to register with the police, but again, that's only if it's mentioned on your visa. And as I said before, register with the doctor. After the international welcome, you'll also have an induction in schools, which will give you an introduction to your course and how your assessments will take place and what will be expected of you. Then there's a week before lectures start called Freshers Week. Now this is a week of social events and fun things to do that help you settle into Newcastle and to meet friends from across the UK and from all different countries. It's a fantastic opportunity to meet people because everyone's new during this week. So make sure you take part in as many events as possible. And there is information about this on the Newcastle University Student Union website. Okay, these are dates that you may wish to jot down. These are our term dates. They're set a long way in advance, which is really helpful for you in terms of booking flights, knowing when you would like to go home, or to be able to plan ahead for any trips that you might like to take to other parts of maybe other parts of Europe. And here are some more important dates for you to think about for September. So the airport meet and greet service, as I said before, bookings available now, and that is the 19th to the 21st of September. So we will have people at the airport, as you can see in the pictures on the slides. They will be there to meet you, to greet you. They'll be wearing these red Newcastle University t-shirts, so they're quite easy to spot. Then arrival will take place on campus from the 19th to the 27th of September. So that covers international arrival and Freshers Week and the period that you can register at the university. Then you can see the dates for international welcome and Freshers Week below. And then you can see the start of term. Obviously, we would advise that you arrive for international welcome and for Freshers Week to really get a great induction to the university. We know that's not always possible due to visas and potentially any other issues that you're having. But what I would say is try not to arrive any later than the 25th of September because that is when things will start in your school, and it's really important not to miss those. And finally, I'll hand over to Monica to give you some tips.
Thank you, Alex. So I will just reiterate some things that have been said before and give you a few useful tips from a student perspective of what to do when you arrive. So first things first, sort out your accommodation. I know it's been said already, but this is very important. And if you choose to live in a university hall, everything will be arranged for you and everything you have to do is just basically show up. However, if you choose to stay in private accommodation, as Wendy's mentioned before, it is important that you have a place to stay while you're looking at different private accommodations. So book yourself into a hotel or Airbnb. And then take part in your welcome week activities. I think this is very important for you to feel welcome in the city. It's a great opportunity to make some friends and also explore city and surrounding areas. And during welcome week, there will be plenty of opportunities to go out and do really fun activities, such as visiting some places around Newcastle, also going to comedy nights, going on tours around the city. So plenty of things to get involved in. Next thing is setting up your bank account, as also already been mentioned. And to set up your bank account, you will need your passport and also confirmation of your address in the UK. And if you are staying in university accommodation, this confirmation of address can be obtained from Kingsgate. This is the building with all student services. And at level 2 in Kingsgate, they will issue you such a bank letter upon request. Next thing is registering with a GP, so with a doctor. So that's also been said. However, I have one useful tip for you that not many students know about. If you're a student in the UK and you don't have any other sources of income or any scholarship, you might be eligible for something called HC2 certificate. And this is a certificate that exempts you from a lot of fees that you would have to pay. For example, if you go to a doctor and get a prescription, you don't need to pay for your prescription, or you can go for a free eye test, eye check, or also get a free dental care, which can be very expensive in the UK, so it's worth checking that out. And also, my last tip is basically to explore the city in your first month that you're here, because very soon you will get snowed under with university work and maybe don't have that much time to go out. So in the first 3 weeks, make sure to enjoy Newcastle. It will maybe still be warm in September, so you might go to the coast, go to the beach and just make the most of your time here. And also, I just want to say why Newcastle is a great city to study. So basically why I chose to study at Newcastle University is because the city of Newcastle is very affordable, it is very friendly, and it is very safe. As Wendy mentioned, it is a very compact city, so you never really need to commute anywhere. Everything is within walking distance, and people here like to go out, like to enjoy themselves. So any time of day and night, it is safe here. Nothing ever happens. And also, it is very affordable when it comes to accommodation, when it comes to going out. And there are plenty of options to go out and enjoy yourself. We have so many art galleries, so much culture. We have theater, we have 2 cinemas, shopping, and also, a lot of bars and restaurants. So you will never get bored in Newcastle. And today I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about student experience at Newcastle University and in Newcastle as a city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monica, and thank you to Alex as well. It's great. So this is the final slide. I'm just putting up here contact details within our international office, of which I'm a part. We divide the world up into regions, and every region has an email address. So if after today, we're really happy to take your questions now, but if in a few days, a few weeks' time, you think, oh, I wish I'd asked them that, then if you work out which region you're from in the world and then send in questions, I have colleagues who look at those emails every day, Monday to Friday, and they'll be very happy to answer your questions and help you on your journey to Newcastle. Okay, so that is now the end of the formal presentation, but we have 20 minutes or so to take questions from you. I've received some already, but please keep them coming in because, yes, hello. We will have time for more. So any aspect of your admission into the university, any aspect about visas, about accommodation, about the university in general or the city, just type in. If you've got a YouTube account, you can use the chat function and type in your question, and it will come up on my screen, and we can answer those questions now. So please do go ahead. No, that's fine. Okay, lovely. So I've got quite a few questions here about accommodation. Okay, so somebody is asking that they'd applied for accommodation on our website for university accommodation, but that they had missed the 30th of June deadline, and they're asking what are their chances of getting a place. I'm sure you stand a really good chance of getting a place because we do have lots of accommodation available to students. So please just sit and wait and be patient, and you will hear from our accommodation office with an offer of some accommodation. So yeah, just sit tight. I think most of the accommodation allocations are done in August. There's still a week left before August. So just sit tight, don't panic. You will hear from us. As I said, every time somebody emails or calls our accommodation team, it takes them away from the job of allocating the accommodation. So if you can just be patient, we do this every year and we always house all our students who apply for accommodation. So don't worry, the responsibility is ours. We will get to you. Someone is asking, they're saying that they've chosen single-sex accommodation. Does that mean that no boys are allowed into this part of the accommodation? That's a good one. Well, boys are allowed in, but they wouldn't be allowed to live in the accommodation. So if you book single sex, that means you're living only with girls or only with boys. But if you want to entertain your male or female friends, that's fine, but they just wouldn't be living there permanently with you. So I hope that answers that. Henna, a visa question. It's very specific to Pakistan. Applied for a student visa on the 3rd of July, submitted his documents on the 6th, and wants to know when he can expect a decision.
Yeah, excuse me. Processing time can vary between countries. Typically, though, the visa processing time is about 3 weeks long. So from the time you actually attend your appointment and get your biometrics done and you submit your documents, it can then take up to 15 working days before you actually hear back from the Home Office. Now, of course, 15 working days is just the standard processing time. And if the Home Office do have additional queries, for example, they might then get in contact with you, and that might obviously make the processing time a bit longer. So, but 15 working days should be a sort of a fair estimate. Any longer than that, you may wish to make inquiries with your local visa application centre.
Thank you, Henna. Someone is asking about tuition fee payment. How do I confirm my tuition fee payment? Can I call to confirm with the finance office? You could call, but probably better would be to email. And there is an email address that I think I know what it is, but I think it's best if we send around the relevant email link. Is it tuition-fees?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the word tuition, then hyphen, a line, fees, F-E-E-S, at ncl.ac.uk. But we will send a link round at the end of this. Okay, somebody's applying for the Tier 4 visa, Henna, from the USA. I noticed that part of the process asks for specific sponsorship amounts in British pounds. Where do I find these numbers?
I'm not entirely sure I fully understand the question, I'm afraid. But I'm guessing this is something that has cropped up within your visa application form. One of the questions I'm certainly aware of is they do ask you how much money you have available to you for your studies in the UK. Now, what we would ask you to put in that as an answer to that question would be to use the Home Office guidelines, which is £9,135 as the standard cost of living, and you would just put that amount on your application form. Now, if you're from the US, some of you may be also on a federal loan or a loan scheme, then what you would need to do in that instance is to get a letter from the university, which will also confirm that you are in receipt of that loan. Yeah, I do apologize. I don't quite understand the question.
No, I think you've answered it correctly.
But please do email in if that didn't answer the question. Please email us directly. I can give you our email address, which is just visa at ncl.ac.uk. If that didn't answer your question, just email that question through to us with a bit more details, perhaps.
Great, thank you, Henna. That's super. Okay, Any more questions? We're a bit short on questions this morning. One question I know for my colleagues in undergraduate and postgraduate admissions is often, what is the latest that I can arrive in Newcastle? We say that the start of term is the 25th of September. Are we saying that that is the latest that they can arrive, or is there any later date agreed beyond that, or are we saying the 25th?
I'll go first.
Yes.
I deal with the undergraduate side of applications, so we would always recommend that you aim to arrive for the start of term on Monday the 25th of September at the very latest. If you are having a problem organising a visa, or you have travel disruption, please get in touch and let us know if you're going to be late. Usually, if it's just a couple of days, it shouldn't cause too much of a problem. But we do need to know when you're planning to arrive. Get in touch with the Central Undergraduate Admissions team using the email address that was in your offer letter, or offer on UCAS track rather, and tell us when you expect to arrive, or you can contact your school directly and tell them. If you're going to be more than a couple of days late, we normally have to get some kind of approval from the academic school that you'll be attending. So we do need to know when you're going to arrive, but please, wherever possible, ensure that you arrive for the 25th of September.
Hello, I speak for postgraduate admissions. It's exactly the same process as for the undergraduate team. If you're experiencing any problems at all with your arrival, please contact postgraduate admissions. The email address should be on your offer letter, so please get in touch as soon as possible with postgraduate admissions, and we'll look at your case and we will try to help you with that. There shouldn't be too much of a problem if it's only a few days, but if it's going to be any longer, we would need to seek approval from academic staff for that. But the key thing is just to get in touch with us and we'll help you with that.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's great. Back to visas for a moment, Henna. What would happen if your visa is denied? What normally causes a denial of a visa?
Yeah, there's several reasons that could cause a visa refusal, but the most common one is not submitting the correct documents that the Home Office expects you to submit. And more often than not, this is due to the financial evidence that you submit. Quite often we see a lot of students who would submit documents that the Home Office don't quite like or doesn't quite meet the requirements. And it could be something very simple. Maybe the formatting of a bank statements, for example, could cause a visa refusal. Now, very, very important. We obviously have a visa team here at Newcastle University. What we would expect you to do is to inform the university when you get a visa refusal. And what we'll do is we'll look into the reason of the refusal. So you would send us all the documentations, such as the refusal notice, for example, and we will look into it and hopefully we'll be able to advise you further. So for example, if the problem with the first application was because of financial evidence, then we would ask you to sort of send us the financial evidence. We'll look through it. We'll try to make sure as best as we can that it meets the requirements. And then you would need to get a new CAS number. So make sure you get a new CAS number from the relevant admissions team. And you must then make a new visa application if there's time. So one thing you might consider as well is how much time you have, because once you've got a visa refusal and you need to make another application, again, that might be another 15 working days. In some countries, you do have the option to pay a bit more money and then you can get your application expedited. But the rule of thumb is get in contact with us and then we can guide you through that process.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm planning my arrival at the university, Alex, on the 11th of September. Can I register at the university before the registration week?
No, the registration does not open at all until the 19th of September. That's the first date that you can register. So you can do lots of other things in Newcastle, and, explore the city and that kind of thing, but you won't be able to register at Newcastle University until that point.
Thank you. Okay. Henna, back to you. Money. How much money do I have to have? I think you've covered this already, to apply for a Tier 4 visa.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll give some general information here. Obviously, I can't really give too specific advice on a broadcast like this. But what you will need to show is you have access to any tuition fees that you have not paid to the university. So look onto your offer letter, see what your tuition fees are. For postgraduate students, for example, you may pay a deposit. So your unpaid tuition fees would then be whatever the amount is, less the deposit. For undergraduate students, it might be all the tuition fees that's quoted on the offer letter. And on top of that, what you'll need to do is to add on £9,135 if you'll be studying here for at least 9 months. So that's the rule of thumb. You add all of the sums up. You need to be able to demonstrate that you have this money in your bank account, in a personal account, and it needs to be there for at least 28 days. So make sure you meet that requirements. That's the basic rule. If you're not quite sure whether different countries have different formats of bank statements. If you're not quite sure whether your bank statements or the financial evidence that you're using meet the requirements, by all means get in contact with us and we'll be able to check through the documents and then let you know if that's okay or not.
Thank you, that's great. Somebody's asking about the average amount of money that students spend in a week. We give the amount for a year. It depends if you're an undergrad or a postgrad, but I guess what did we say again? About 10,000 for an undergrad and 10 to 12,000 for a postgrad. So just take that global figure for a year and divide it by the number of weeks.
Maybe I can add on top of that because I've been a student here. So it's not a general guidance, but it's just my personal experience. So a cost of accommodation would be perhaps around £400 a month. So then £100 a week for your accommodation. It can vary, it can be more, it can be less, but that's, let's say, the general figure. But that you mostly pay monthly. However, just for a week of living and shopping and going out, I would say about £50 per week. I would say that would sustain you and also allow you to even go out on the weekend. Your weekly shop is probably going to be around maybe £30, I would say, and that allows you to buy everything you need, and then you can have extra £20 a week, to go to a coffee shop or go out on the weekend. So I think £50 a week is amount that I spent when I was a student here.
Thank you, Monica. Good question. Is there a specific timetable for International Welcome Week? Where can I find it?
Yes. Okay. So if you go to the pre-arrival section of our website, at the moment it is the timetable for 2016 is up. Our timetable is just currently with the designers, so we'll be up on the website by very early August. But you can have a look at 2016 programme for your own reference. That will give you an idea about information sessions, the social activities that will take place during that week, and any other. I think it'll give you a bit of an idea of beyond that what will happen. So there's activities for postgrads in there, there's activities for international students, and there's activities for anyone from the UK as well. So that booklet will give you a really good idea, but look out for the new booklet, which will be up soon. You'll also get a CRM email from our university, which will give you a link to that booklet once it's ready.
Thank you, Alex. Somebody is having difficulties applying for accommodation. They keep getting a server error message. And so for that, I would suggest that you go on to the university's inquiry form and say that you're having this problem, and then someone will contact you. You said that that's from ISA, you keep getting this server error. So yeah, go to the university's inquiry form and tell them that you're having that problem, and someone will get back to you. Okay, that's great. If Henna, we are having student loan sponsorship for the entire tuition and living expenses, is it true that we will need to do, all we need to do is provide the proof of sponsorship for the visa application process?
That's right, yes. Obviously, you have to make sure that the amount of money you're getting as a loan or as a sponsorship covers what the Home Office requires, because the Home Office sets a minimum requirement. And if your loan or sponsorship covers that amount of money, then that's correct. All you need to do is make sure that you send the correct loan letter or the correct sponsor letter, make sure that it's accepted by the Home Office. So there are other things that you need to look at to see whether the bank that you got your loan from, whether that's going to be accepted by the Home Office. Check whether the sponsor, so if you're going to be sponsored by your home university or your home government, make sure they're going to be accepted by the Home Office. And if it's accepted, all you need to do is provide a guarantee letter or a sponsor letter or a loan letter that shows that you are going to get the funding as specified in the letter for the purposes of studying in Newcastle.
Thank you. Sorry, another one for Henna. Is the health fee always £150? I checked in a visa website and found that it could be around £300 for my country. Is this possible?
No. So the immigration health surcharge fee or IHS fee is definitely set at £150 a year, but that will always be according to how long you'll be getting your visa for. So if, for example, you are a master's degree student and you'll be coming here for a 12-month master's, in total you will get 16 months worth of visa. So because you're getting 16 months worth of visa, what you'll be paying is £150 plus the extra 4 months, which is £75. So in total, you'll be paying £225. If you are an undergraduate student, for example, you'll be doing a 3-year undergraduate program, then you'll be paying for 3 years and 4 months. So that's £525. So it's not a flat rate. It is a flat rate in terms of per year. So that's £150 per year. That wouldn't change, but it is going to go up depending on how long you'll be getting your visa for.
Thank you. What is the recommended time to allow to apply for a visa? 3 months? Or?
In most countries, visa processing time is 15 working days. And certainly the Home Office is aware that they do go through a search in August and September for brand new students. So you may find that 15 working days is just a guide. You may get your visa application processed a bit quicker in certain countries, but definitely leave yourself. We would recommend 6 to 8 weeks before the start date of the program. Obviously, we don't anticipate many students to get a visa refusal, but you have to anticipate that in case any problems with the visa application, if it gets refused, that will give you a bit more time to then make a fresh application and to arrive in time for the 25th of September.
Thank you, Henna. Okay. Got an interesting question here about the new Urban Sciences building. This is a new building that's being built slightly away from the main campus, where a lot of our computing students are going to be housed, and it's quite close to our business school as well. The question is, will it have student services and therefore feel attached to the main campus? To be honest, it's so close to the main campus. It's about a 10-minute maximum walk away, 10 minutes walk. So it's very easy for you to come onto the main campus and use all the student services there. The building primarily is an academic building. That's where you're taught, but then your free time, your student activities, you would always go to the main campus. Just what our business school students, they do that currently, because they're located near there.
But it's so close together that you won't feel like you're cut off from the rest of the university. They're so close you can, go back and forward multiple times a day.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think we need to draw the session. Oh, maybe. Okay, that's probably one relevant. This will be the last question. I don't know who can answer this. What are the medical documents that international students require because we talked a lot about medical documents. I think what we mean by that, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you have a medical condition already in your home country, you need to bring evidence of that with you, so that if you did need treatment by a UK doctor, then we could see exactly what your condition was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously for the tuberculosis screening as well.
Right. And is that tuberculosis, is that a requirement in certain countries?
Yes.
So I don't know which country you're from, but certain countries it's a requirement. So perhaps you might need to look in to see if it's required from whichever country you're coming from. Yeah. Okay, I think we need to draw it to a close now. However, the good news is I'm going to take all the questions that have been asked today and all the questions that were asked in the seminar that we did on Tuesday. We're going to put them all together in a document and provide the answers to everything. So we're going to work on that today, and then my colleague Isabel will email out to you all, those of you who participated today or yesterday, anybody who registered, even if you didn't ask a question, and we will send out those answers to you. But I would just remind you as well that we did previously put up those email addresses, and every region of the world has an email address where you can get in touch.
If I can just say a word also to invite everybody that is watching now or registered for the events. I will be holding an event centered around student experience in Newcastle and arriving to Newcastle on the 23rd of August at 1 p.m. and it will be streamed live. And during this session, we'll have mainly students, both undergraduate and postgraduate, to answer your questions and address the worries that you have when arriving to Newcastle and give you a little bit of an insight into student experience here. So we invite you very much to take part in this session.
Thank you, Monica. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you for your attention, for coming online today. Thank you for all your questions. I hope that the presentation and then the subsequent answers we gave to your questions have been helpful. We hope to see you in Newcastle in September, and yeah, good luck with all your preparations. Thank you very much.